World building. It's something that JoJo's Bizarre Adventure doesn't really need to do, because everything is very heavily focused on the characters. But with Diamond is Unbreakable, we got to see Araki focusing a bit more on the world building. Having everything being contained in the small town of Morio, for some reason it made me enjoy this part of JoJo's a whole lot. To me, the town of Morio really just gave this part its charm. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like there wasn't any world building going on in the other parts, but Araki never really let his characters stay in one place for too long. So letting his characters stay in Morio and explore it added another aspect to JoJo's that I never really paid attention to in the other parts. Of course, it wasn't the biggest aspect of this part, but it's something that I saw slowly change as we learned more about Morio. Something else that I noticed really changing throughout Diamond is Unbreakable is Araki's art. In parts 1 through 3, each character just looks super bulky, and I wasn't a huge fan of Araki's art in the first 3 parts. But in this part, each character looks a lot slimmer and just has a whole different style to them from what we saw in parts 1 through 3. I didn't really notice it all too much until I looked back at the first chapter, and you can see that Josuke, he looks pretty big and bulky, and then going to the very end of this part, you can clearly see a huge difference between the art style and how the characters are drawn. So although I didn't really like Araki's art in the first 3 parts, I can definitely say that I really loved the transition that Araki went through in drawing part 4. I like how his art changed, and yeah, I really prefer the art in Diamond is Unbreakable, especially towards the end. Now, one of the biggest things I want to talk about with this part is the protagonist, Josuke Higashikata. Well, one of the first things I want to talk about with Josuke is his dad, Joseph Joestar. I just thought the whole situation was actually pretty sad about how Joseph wasn't, really a father to Josuke. And when they meet, Josuke doesn't really have any feelings for his dad. He just thinks of him as a stranger. I just thought that little part of the story was pretty sad, but at least, at the end, Josuke pretty much steals Joseph's wallet. So I guess there's a little bit of revenge there. Now, Josuke, he kind of has that good nature that almost every Joestar we have seen has. He's kind of heroic, and he's just good natured. Throughout parts 1 through 4, I wouldn't say that Josuke is my favorite protagonist, but although he wasn't the most interesting to me, he was an enjoyable protagonist to just see, and I really liked him. He doesn't have the composure that Jotaro has or the wacky personality of Joseph, but what he does have is a very down-to-earth personality and a good heart. Something that I think every Joestar has inherited from Jonathan. Overall, what I would say makes him different from all the other protagonists so far in JoJo's is that he's pretty much a normal guy. And to me, that's where his charisma really shines through. I thought his stand was pretty cool, Crazy Diamond. It can fix anything that's broken. And yeah, Josuke really uses that stand in some creative ways. This part really added a whole nother level of complexity to stands. We see with Koichi that his stand, it starts off as an egg, and then it slowly grows alongside him throughout this part. There are different acts to it, Act 1, Act 2, and Act 3. Just seeing that stands aren't always going to be one-dimensional and that they can grow alongside their users. It really just shows that Araki can explore and do a whole lot more with stands. It's already one of my favorite power systems in all of manga, and just about every fight is enjoyable to see. I do want to mention that Koichi is one of my favorite characters in this part, easily. He starts off as some random, weak guy, but throughout the manga, he becomes one of the most courageous and reliable characters in Diamond is Unbreakable. Especially when you see him fighting with Kara, he goes through a tremendous amount of growth as a character. And just seeing the cast of characters throughout this part, it cemented the idea in me that Araki, he definitely knows how to make some really interesting characters. To me, a really good indicator of, just good character writing is that you would want to see them in their normal day-to-day life. And if there wasn't any stands or fights, and there wasn't really any super crazy antagonists or anything like that in this part, I definitely would have just enjoyed seeing all these characters interacting. The last thing I want to talk about with this part is Yoshikage Kara. In this part, everybody is just trying to live a normal, peaceful life, or at least most people. And when you look at Kira, he says that all he wants is a quiet life, which I found to be very, very weird. If you look back on the other two main antagonists that we've seen in JoJo so far, Dio and Kars wanted to become the ultimate life form and conquer the sun. What I'm mainly trying to say is that Dio and Kars had some very crazy and big goals. They wanted to reach perfection. So when you look at Kira and his goal of wanting to have a quiet life, it's not only a weird goal for a main antagonist in JoJo's, but also it kind of seems petty when you compare that to Dio and Kars' goals. It seems small. To me, that's just such a compelling thing for an antagonist to want. And then you add in the fact that he's a serial killer. It creates a few different layers to Kira. His motivations easily make him one of the most weirdest antagonists in JoJo's, but that's also what makes him such a compelling character. Moving on, I did see the anime, but it was quite a while ago, so I forgot how this part ended, and I won't spoil anything, but yeah, just the way this part ends and how everything between Kira and the cast of characters gets resolved, I thought it was actually pretty funny. It was very unexpected. Just seeing the small town of Morio, seeing little things and bits of world building throughout this story, it's something that I came to appreciate by the end of Diamond is Unbreakable. My favorite thing from this part has to be the cast of characters, just seeing Jotaro again, seeing Joseph again, and then seeing Josuke, his friends, Okuyasu, Koichi, Rohan, that weird guy that may or may not be an alien. This part definitely had a great cast of characters, and Kira, I really hate him, but I feel that if an antagonist is able to make you hate them, then I think that makes them a good antagonist. Sorta. The next part I'm gonna be reading is Golden Wind, and yeah, I'm just slowly making my way towards JoJo lands. So I'm gonna go start reading the next part, but thanks for watching, see you in the next one, and peace.